No one expected the lights to go out that night. Not during a high-profile rehearsal. Not while the world's cameras were fixed on two faces that had already stolen the hearts of millions. But maybe that was the point. The blackout lasted only 46 seconds, according to the studio logs. 46 seconds that were never supposed to exist. 46 seconds that were erased from all official recordings. Sep 1. A tiny, unmarked backup camera mounted behind a cracked spotlight, forgotten by the crew, captured everything. And what it revealed between Yulong and young Mei Mei became the most whispered secret in the industry. A secret so dangerous it nearly vanished with them. The footage was forbidden not because of what it showed, but because of what it suggested. It begins with silence. Darkness swallowing the stage, the soft hum of power dying, and the distant gasps of the crew. A storm raged outside the studio that night, but inside, another storm was already forming, one far more personal, far more delicate. When the camera regained visual clarity, there was no script, no lines, no choreography. Only them. Yulong stood inches from young Mei Mei, shadows mixing their silhouettes into a single blurred shape. His hand found her arm, not rough, not rushed, but instinctively, as if he had been waiting for darkness to tell the truth light never allowed. She didn't pull away. Instead, she breathed in sharply, the kind of breath that comes from surprise, recognition, fear, and longing all at once. And then she whispered something. The audio was damaged, but experts who analyzed the leaked clip agreed. She called his name, not as a co-star, not as a colleague, but as someone who knew him more deeply than the world assumed. Yulong. Her voice was soft, trembling, almost relieved. The next part of the footage was always the hardest to interpret. Yulong stepped closer, close enough that the camera could barely distinguish where he ended and she began. The darkness, paired with the flicker of the emergency exit light, painted them in a single heartbeat of color. His hand slid gently up her arm, resting near her shoulder. His voice, barely audible, carried a warmth that contrasted the cold room around them. "You're shaking," he murmured. "I'm not," she tried to reply, but her breath betrayed her. The blackout created a rare privacy they were never allowed in the open. The cameras, the lights, the expectations, they always built walls around them. But that night, the power failure created a crack in the walls, and emotion spilled through like light through broken glass. Yulong took her other hand, lifting it from where she clutched her chest. Even in the grainy footage, the gesture looked protective, familiar, like he'd done it before when no one was watching. His thumb brushed her knuckles. She didn't pull away. It was the first moment in the forbidden footage that didn't feel like an accident. Felt like history resurfacing. Then, from somewhere in the darkness, a loud crash echoed. Crew members shouted. Someone ran. The emergency lights flickered weakly, turning the world into a trembling amber glow. But Yulong didn't move. He looked at young Mei Mei with an intensity that defied the chaos around them. She met his gaze not with confusion but with understanding, maybe fear but a familiar kind of fear. A fear of being discovered. A fear of feelings that were never supposed to exist in the public eye. With the world closing in around them, Yulong leaned forward. Not to kiss her. Not to confess anything. But to whisper a single sentence that would later become the heartbeat of every theory, rumor, and investigation. "We can't hide anymore." Before she could answer, the lights surged back on. The footage ended. Or rather, the leaked version ended. What happened next was lost. Deleted, corrupted, or maybe intentionally removed. Those 46 seconds became a myth, a riddle, a doorway to truths only the two of them knew. But the consequences were real. Within a week, production schedules changed. Tabloids went silent, suspiciously silent. Yulong and young Mei Mei stopped attending events together. Joint interviews were cancelled. Rumors of a secret agreement between their agencies spread like wildfire. And then something stranger happened. Someone inside the studio leaked a message claiming that Yulong himself requested the footage be buried. Not because it exposed their relationship, but because it exposed what they were running from. The blackout wasn't an accident. Someone had caused it. Someone who knew they were alone on that stage. Someone who wanted to hear everything Yulong whispered. Someone who needed confirmation that the two shared more than a scripted partnership. This revelation flipped the narrative. If the blackout was intentional, then so was the danger. If the footage was forbidden, it wasn't to protect them. It was to protect the truth behind them. Months after the incident, the leaked footage resurfaced, this time from an anonymous account. The clip was shorter, grainier, but it was unquestionably the same moment. The same closeness, the same shaking breath from Mei Mei, the same whispered sentence from Yulong. The timing was suspicious too. It went viral only days before their sudden disappearance. That's when the timeline twisted. The blackout, the forbidden footage, and the disappearance were no longer isolated events. They were pieces of the same puzzle. Viewers began connecting the dots. Theories multiplied. Some claimed they were lovers trapped in a contract that forbade them from being together. Others believed they were exposing corruption inside the industry. The boldest theory: someone powerful wanted them silent. And the blackout was the warning. When Yulong told Mei Mei, "We can't hide anymore," he wasn't talking about love. He was talking about danger. That sentence became the center of everything. Every rumor, every video analysis, every late-night conspiracy discussion online. People slowed down the clip, enhanced the audio, compared body language, even traced the reflection of emergency lights on the floor to rebuild the layout of the studio that night. But the most chilling detail came from a sound engineer who claimed to have worked that evening. He insisted that during the blackout, he heard footsteps, heavy, pacing, deliberate, heading toward the stage. He wasn't the only one. A lighting technician later admitted she saw a figure standing near the catwalk railing during the power failure. The person wasn't holding any equipment. They weren't part of the crew. They were just watching. And when the lights returned, that person vanished. But the moment the forbidden footage leaked, every trace of both Yulong and Mei Mei began to fade. Their social media froze. Their schedules emptied. Public sightings grew rare and uncertain, until they stopped completely. Some argue they ran away to protect each other. Others say they were taken. A few believe they planned everything together, right from the blackout, to expose something much larger. But there's one detail almost everyone overlooks. Right before the lights came back on, Yulong looked over his shoulder. Not at the cameras. Not at the crew. He looked directly toward the dark corner of the studio, the same corner where the technician claimed she saw a figure watching. This means Yulong knew. He sensed the presence. He knew the blackout wasn't a coincidence. And still he chose to speak the truth. We can't hide anymore. To this day, that moment remains the most dissected 18 frames of video on the internet. Video analysts claim you can see Mei Mei's hand tighten around his coat sleeve in fear. Fan investigators swear Yulong's body shields her subtly, as though protecting her from something unseen. Psychologists have given full breakdowns of their expressions. But perhaps the most haunting part of all is what the forbidden footage doesn't show. What happens after the power returns? Every version of the leak ends the same way. With a flash of white light, a blurred edge of movement, and then static. Some claim there exists a longer version. Some say it will never be released. Others insist it already has been, just not to the public. But one truth remains clear. Whatever happened in those 46 seconds was powerful enough to spark fear, provoke silence, initiate cover-ups, and possibly cost Yulong and Mei Mei their freedom. Or their lives. Even now, trending forums speculate that the footage was part of the reason for their disappearance. Some theorize the pair was planning to expose what really caused the blackout, information that threatened people far beyond the entertainment world. Others believe they eloped under pressure, seeking safety away from the eyes that watched them even in the dark. Whatever the truth is, the forbidden footage was the first crack in the wall surrounding them. It revealed vulnerability. It revealed fear. It revealed a connection too intimate to be scripted. And it revealed a threat neither of them anticipated. 46 seconds. 2 hearts. 1 warning. The world saw only a fraction. And still it was enough to change everything. The mystery of the forbidden footage didn't begin when the lights went out. It began 5 minutes earlier, long before anyone realized the studio was about to become the center of a story that would outlive both of them. Yu Long always arrived early to rehearsals, but that night, he arrived too early. Security footage, the parts that weren't mysteriously corrupted later, showed him entering the studio at 8:04 p.m., 21 minutes before the rest of the crew. He looked uneasy, glancing over his shoulder twice as if anticipating someone following him. But the strangest detail wasn't his expression. It was the envelope. A thin, unmarked, off-white envelope tucked into his jacket. He kept one hand on it the entire walk down the hallway. By the time young Mei Mei arrived at 8:19, Yu Long had already placed the envelope under the third spotlight on stage, a place only someone who knew the studio layout intimately would think to search. Except it was never meant for her. It was meant for the person Yu Long suspected was watching him. But the irony, young Mei Mei would be the one to find it. The rehearsal began normally. Lines repeated, blocking adjusted, light cues tested. But the tension between Yu Long and Mei Mei was unmistakable. They moved in sync, two in sync. The kind of chemistry that camera lenses love but contracts forbid. Their eyes met with a familiarity neither of them openly acknowledged, but it didn't matter. Anyone could feel it. The crew teased them behind the scenes, always harmless, always playful. But that night the teasing felt absent. Heavy. As if people sensed something looming. 30 minutes into rehearsal, the storm outside cracked the sky open. Wind slammed the windows, and thunder crawled through the building's steel bones. But the show continued, until the lights flickered once, twice, and then died. The world fell black. Everyone thought it was a normal power surge. But those who later reviewed the electrical logs knew better. The outage didn't come from outside the building. Came from inside. Yu Long's voice broke the silence first. Mei Mei. Are you okay? She wasn't near him at the moment the blackout hit. She had been checking her mark on the opposite end of the stage. But in total darkness, she moved toward his voice. Footsteps echoed on the wooden floor. Quick, unsteady, the rhythm of someone searching for a familiar presence. When her hand brushed his sleeve, the camera captured the exact moment relief collapsed across her spine. She stepped closer, close enough that her breath landed softly against his neck. He steadied her with one arm, settling her into a quiet space between panic and something much deeper. The forbidden footage captured the next part clearly. Not because the light returned, but because of the single emergency exit bulb glowing faintly behind them, painting their silhouettes in trembling gold. This was when Yu Long leaned in, whispering words only she was meant to hear. They're here. Young Mei Mei stiffened immediately. Her fingers dug into his coat. The world outside the camera frame suddenly felt sharper, colder, predatory. Who? She whispered back. Yu Long didn't answer. He didn't need to. A soft metallic clang echoed somewhere above them, a sound no one noticed during the live moment, but which became terrifyingly clear in the leaked footage. Something was moving across the catwalk level. Low, heavy, intentional, like a hunter. Yu Long's hand moved from Mei Mei's shoulder to her waist, not romantic but protective. He pulled her closer, shielding her from the direction of the sound. Then the camera caught something chilling. A faint red at a laser pointer, a sensor. Skated across the back wall of the studio. It appeared only for half a second, but it was enough to freeze both of them in place. Mei Mei's hand wrapped around his jacket tighter. Yu Long, what did you do? Nothing, he whispered. But his eyes said otherwise. The dot disappeared. The footsteps above them stopped. Then came the most analyzed moment of the entire video. Mei Mei reached up, touched the side of his face gently, searching. Her lips trembled with a question she didn't get to ask. Because that's when Yu Long said the very line that became legend. We can't hide anymore. Some say he meant their relationship. Some say he meant the envelope. Others believe he meant the truth, the one he'd been carrying alone. But before the words could fully settle, the emergency light flickered violently, The sound of shifting metal echoed from the ceiling, and a dark figure appeared briefly in the far left corner of the frame. Just for a moment. Just long enough to confirm it wasn't a trick of the light. But not long enough to reveal their face. Young Mei Mei saw it. Her body tensed so hard the entire frame shook with her movement. "Who is that?" she whispered. Yulong grabbed her hand. "Don't look. Just stay behind me." The figure didn't move. Didn't approach. Didn't retreat. Watched. The camera continued recording the silent standoff. Yulong shielding Mei Mei, Mei Mei clutching him, the shadow unmoving, the darkness swallowing all sound. A loud electrical spark burst from the corner of the room, sending a streak of blue light across the floor. Crew members screamed from outside the frame. Someone shouted for the power team. A distant voice yelled, "Get away from the panel!" The shadow vanished.